Hey, so we're day what, 14 of quarantine? Day 14 of quarantine, and while we did uh, go to Costco the other day, we've been planning on making this for a week. So this was made entirely. This is going to be made entirely with what we had around the house. So today we're making pumpkin gnocchi. So here is my co-chef Kendall.
Hello. So we're just starting to mince up the garlic, and we're gonna use a can of pumpkin that's been in our cabinet for a while.
Yeah, and should be a pretty simple recipe. Pumpkin, flour, egg, some seasonings, and then a brown butter sauce, because that pretty much goes with anything. So, yeah, good deal. So, first step, what we're doing is we've made gnocchi with squash and like before, but you know, when you roast the squash, the innards aren't super moist. So since we're using canned pumpkins today, we're just putting it on the skillet really quick, over medium-high heat.
Yeah.
Because we're really just trying to evaporate off any of the extra liquid that built up while it was canned. And then we've also got that garlic from before. If you close the garlic in there, what's the word I'm looking for? Not shredded, not minced.
Grated.
Grated garlic, just so it's nice and even, and we don't end up with any weird lumps in our gnocchi. Hi.
Hi.
What are you doing?
So I added the pumpkin into a cup of flour. It'll cool it down fast enough because we're gonna add an egg. We don't want to cook the egg. And then just kind of mix the pumpkin and the garlic in with that flour. So now we're starting to get our dough.
It's already looking pretty good. Nice. The key with look at me all fancy. The key to a good gnocchi is you really want as little flour as possible, because the otherwise, like, the far end, the extreme of flour is you just have flour cooked and sauced and everything else. You really want whatever flavor, in this case the pumpkin, to come through, and for that you really want to keep the flour level as low as possible. Friends reference.
So what are you working on?
All right. So we've added the egg. We've added some salt, pepper, and nutmeg. Nutmeg, classic pumpkin spice. If a recipe calls for pumpkin spice, really just use nutmeg or maybe cinnamon.
Whatever you have the most of.
Yeah, pumpkin spice is like 80% cinnamon anyway. Whatever. But yeah, and you can see it's starting to get pretty thick already. Still pretty sticky. So don't worry, I'm gonna need it anyway. So we're gonna add a little more flour here, and then we're gonna switch to hand kneading. It's all gonna go in. Fantastic. Okay. Work that flour in, and it'll become a little sticky as you go, but don't worry if it's a little sticky. You handle this pretty minimally once it's all set. So it's a little sticky at the end, that'll still work. Like I said, you just don't want to over flour it. So you can see it's starting to stick a little bit, but at the same time it's still workable. I would say this is pretty much ready. All right.
So now we're rolling out our gnocchi. So we're gonna start by just making kind of like 1 inch rope, I guess. So you can do this in a few sections because it'll be a lot easier to handle rather than making one big section. If it's really too sticky, you can add a little extra flour. Adrian doesn't want to add extra. Adrian does not want to add extra flour.
Nope.
We will not be doing that.
But also, if it's sticking to the counter, just like any dough, feel free to dust flour on the countertop or whatever. We have these wonderful tile countertops, so we get to deal with rolling things out over the edges of the tile. Lucky us. But yeah, so we're gonna roll it into thin ropes, inch thick, like Kendall said, and then we're gonna cut them into gnocchi. We already have our water boiling, or well, on heat. Really, always never underestimate how long it's going to take water to get to heat. All right, time to cut the gnocchi.
So I cut them like about an inch, every inch.
Yeah. That just makes these nice little even gnocchi.
Bite size.
Bite size, delicious. And then after that, we've got this thing. Don't worry if you don't have one, but basically, this is an easy way to make those nice grooves on gnocchi. Some recipes will have you use a fork. That works too. You also don't have to use any if you want for more of a rustic look. But
we did that for years.
We did that for years. Yeah, we didn't. Before I had the tool, we never used the fork. Just kind of a pain and add some texture. But Kendall got me the gnocchi roller for Christmas, and I love it. Hey, so this is the gnocchi roller. Take a gnocchi. Nice, looks nice on its own already, but you just run it up and down a few times, and it gets these grooves. You see that? It looks nice. It feels nice, and honestly, I feel like it makes it taste a little nicer.
What do you mean by taste?
It's weird. I mean, I'm sure there's smarter people or more experienced people than me who can say this, but I think it helps it be a little maybe lighter, fluffier on the tongue. I'm probably just making that up, but I know I'm doing it, so obviously I think it makes a difference, right? But the fact is, as long as we've been using this thing to help make gnocchi, they've been really nice, really light, really fluffy.
Ready? So we like to make our gnocchi fresh, so we're gonna actually freeze half of what we made today. Also for baby, once baby arrives, we want to have frozen meals. So basically just put these on the Silpat mat, stick them in the freezer for a few hours, and then we'll put them in a Ziploc. And then you can just cook them the same as we're gonna cook the rest of them.
Looks good.
Yeah, so we have some red onions, cooking a little bit of olive oil, just so that we the start of our sauce. And then we have our water starting to boil. So we're gonna start cooking our gnocchi in this. So I'll show you kind of what we do. So I'm gonna take some of these and we're just gonna pop them in. I pop them in one by one.
They'll splash less if you kind of poke them into the water before dropping them.
Yeah. And basically, you don't want them touching too much in there. If they fall near each other, it's not a big deal. And then what they will begin to rise. We probably could have waited a little longer for our water to be boiling a little harder, but it doesn't really matter. Once they rise up, that means they're done.
Yeah.
So.
And then you just fish them out with a slotted spoon, and we like to do this. Just transfer them on over to our sauce. Obviously, we're gonna put some more stuff in there before then, but that really gives the outside of the gnocchi a nice texture. If you just finish it in a little butter, a little oil, or whatever sauce you're using.
Even without a real sauce, we normally finish the gnocchi just to cook the outsides to make it crisp.
Quick pan fry, and that's gnocchi. So one thing you want to look out for is that sometimes they want to float, but they stuck to the bottom a little bit. So you just take your spoon in there, kind of kick them around, and yeah, they'll pop right up to the top. So once they pop up, you just take a spoonful of them and move them over to the sauce. And just repeat with your remaining gnocchi. Looks great.
Okay, so we added some spinach because we noticed there was some extra butter in here, and also the spinach adds more nutrients, so put in just a little bit of frozen spinach. So we're just kind of heating that up. The water will evaporate off, and then we're still finishing off those gnocchi, but you can kind of see they're getting like twisted in color. Looks great.
And so this is all the gnocchi we had fresh, but it's going to make a really, really nice meal for two. So if you're cooking for four, just make all the gnocchi, I'd say. And there we have it. Pumpkin gnocchi with a brown butter, red onion, and spinach sauce. Fantastic.